So we are just created the blob storage, and even we have access it as well. So in this we can create the container for images, container for videos, like this way. And these are types of blobs. So we have created the blob. So these are the optimized for streaming. So you can store the audio, video, what are the media backup files you have. So it is recommended you should use blob. Append blob is recommended when you are doing the logging activity. So let's say whatever you have stored yesterday in the same file you want to add today itself. So it is going to append. It support the append operation. So in that case, you can use the append blob. There is a page blob as well. So page blob is optimized for represent the infrastructure as a service disk. So whatever the data disk, whatever the operating system disk we have, these are going to be stored as a page blob, because page blob supports the random read write access, because from the disk we can access from anywhere, we can write anywhere, if it is a part of your virtual machine, if it is a part of uh, your data disk. So these are the three types of blob we have. So you should know where we are using page blob for the data disk, like operating system disk, because support the random read write access. Append blob for the logging, and blob for the streaming. So what are the audio, video, images we have, where we want to load to the client side using the browser, using the streaming, there blob will help you. Is it clear now? So guys, can we go ahead?
Sailendra, one question here. Can we use both storage service as well as SQL Server?
Obviously you will use the storage account as well as SQL Server. So let's say if you are using a virtual machine, that's it. So virtual machine always uses the storage account. So whatever the hard disk, whatever the data disk you are using in the virtual machine,
Mhm.
those are the part of a storage account.
So my question is here, the connection string we used, right? So how can we use both the connection string we need to maintain, right? For
No,
SQL.
that connection string, if you're talking about the storage account, the storage account connection string is for uploading the images, files, your audio, video, whatever the unmanaged data you have.
Okay.
If you're talking about the managed data, like your customer record, your employee, your transaction detail, those are going to be stored in the managed database, RDBMS. It is all about the unmanaged.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, anything else you want to ask? Yeah, who is asking the query? So guys, can we go ahead? Or do you have any other query?
Any difference between storage account and storage service?
Storage account, I said that storage account is a container. Storage service is what are the services available in that account.
Means like blob tables like that.
Yeah, these are the services. We have
Okay.
blob, table, queue. These are the services. Anything else you want to ask?
No, got it. Thank you.
So this one we already created. Now we can create the file storage as well. If you remember, in case of virtual machine class, I have created a file storage there so that I can share the data among two virtual machine. So that is actually part of the file storage. So file storage, you can set up highly available network file share across multiple VMs, even from your local virtual machine as well, from your local machine as well. And the file storage can be up to 1 TB in size. These are the limit for the file storage. And for the file storage, you have to do like nothing like this way. Just create a directory. Let's just create a file there. So it is for data sharing. I'm telling you, it's not for accessibility from the your website and anywhere else. It's for data sharing. So if you will see, there is a files option which I can use. So I can create a file share. So let's say I'm just creating a file share for the software. I want to share some software amongst the virtual machine. So softwares. Here you can mention the quota, let's say 100 GB software. Great.
Is there any link for the file storage with the inbounds and outbounds which we created for the VM?
About the file share?
Yeah.
No, file share, I'm just showing you. Even in the virtual machine session, I have already covered this topic for sharing the data. If you will go through the virtual machine class, there I have shown the way how we can share the data among two virtual machine.
Yeah. So in that case, we need to give some inbounds, right? Port for inbounds to get the access.
Now there is an option here. This is the PowerShell script to just run there. So here you have just mentioning the account key. You're mentioning just your account name. It is going to be connected there. So this is going to be the inbound.
Okay.
You don't need to mention a inbound and outbound rule there. No, you don't need to mention.
Okay. So instead of the inbound and outbound, so we can use this file shares to transfer the data from transfer the files from one VM to another VM.
Inbound and outbound. Inbound is for accessing a port on a virtual machine.
Yeah, if the access is given, then only we can share, right? In that case.
For the file share, you don't need to create any inbound outbound rule.
Okay.
Let's say just a shared location. I'm not accessing that VM. That VM is accessing this. Got the point?
Yeah.
So inbound is required when you are accessing something from the VM. No, I'm not accessing from the VM. I'm just giving this drive accessible in the VM. So there is no need to create.
Okay.
So you have to just create. This is the copy. This command you can copy. So from the local machine, you can also map this one. So here I can map by running this command here. If it is going to be executed successfully, it will work. Sometimes it might not work with the local machine because of some permission issues. It is saying the network path was not found. So better ways he use here. So this is the PowerShell command. I'm trying to create in the local machine, but with the VM it will work fine because last time I have already shown you the same example. So I don't think I need to show you again. So from the virtual machine, it's worked fine. So this is the same thing. I'm not going to repeat here. I just explained to you how the file storage work here. And then sometimes people compare the Azure files with this Azure Blob. So these are the differences here you can see. So this is the capacity for the Blob storage accounts up to 500 TB container. It is 5 TB. So maximum, like somebody asked me about what is the capacity. So these are the capacity here for each and every types of container here. So this is about the durability. So it support LRS, ZRS, ZRS, but it is supporting only LRS and the GRS. REST API. Here is REST API and SMB. SMB just like we have the standard file system API. So this is the endpoint here, and these are the endpoint here we have. Directory is a flat namespace, is a true directory object. So if you will create the directory in case of Azure file, that is a true directory. But in case of Azure Blob, it's not a directory. It's going to be a logical container. Case sensitive namespace, it is also case sensitive. This is the capacity. This is the maximum throughput, 6 TMB per block. This is for object size. This is the build capacity. This is the multi languages support, C#, Java, PHP, and even you can use. Now we have the disk storage. If you remember, in case of virtual machine session, I have created a data disk. So that data disk is actually the part of the disk storage. So that data disk, I can create here from premium storage for input output IntelliSim application, use as a hard disk for a virtual machine in the Azure, highly available, durable, and secure for a virtual machine, supports automatic 3 replication. These are the differences between Azure disk and the Azure files. So Azure disk, we can attach at a time to a single virtual machine, but Azure files is shared across the multiple virtual machine. So whatever the disk you have created, at a time you can use only with one VM, but Azure files I can use at a time with multiple VM because it's a shared storage. So a snapshot we can create for the Azure disk. So generally in case of hard disk, we create the snapshot so that the identical the hard disk like the VM we can create easily. So but there is no snapshot option. And the configuration done for the Azure disk at the time of start of the virtual machine. So it is going to be connected with the VM when you start the VM. If you are not starting the VM, it's not connected. Azure files is connected when the machine has started. Means when the machine has been boot, at the time it make the connection. But in case of disk, before starting the VM, it's make the connection. Authentication is built in case of Azure disk. In case of Azure files, you can set up using the net use. Cleanup is automatic, but here is manual. Access, REST API access is only for SSD, not for VHD. These are max size 4 TB disk we can create. Maximum size, Azure file share can be 5 TB. This is the input output operation, and this is the throughput. So these are differences between the Azure disk and the Azure files. So guys, do you have any query or can we go ahead? This is about the difference between all these three, like where you should use Azure files, where you should use Azure blobs, and where you should use Azure disk. So Azure files is about lifting and shifting the application. As I said to you, you want to share some softwares, and in that case use Azure files, data sharing purpose. Azure blobs, any audio, video, images you want to store and you want to stream when you are showing to into the website, use Azure blobs at that place. Azure disk, when you want to create the virtual machine hard disk, at that time you are just going to create the Azure disk. So what are the VM we have? That VM can have the SSD, that VM can have the VHD. So those are the disk here, simple.